That music adjusted. It's just a little abrupt, but you know what? Hey, it kind of suits me. So here I am, Kim Hayden, and this is 500 Doors Real Estate Podcast. And you know what? I know your time is valuable, and I want to thank you personally for sharing your time with us. I promise that you spend the next 30, 32, 38 minutes. I don't know how long this will take, but I promise if you spend this next little bit of time with us, you're going to walk away with an actionable step that you can actually apply to your business, apply to your legacy, and apply to build your wealth. So really excited today. I love talking to the guys who are in the trenches, who are actually, actively doing residential real estate. Because you know that if you know anything about me, you know that residential real estate is where I built my wealth and my experience, and it's always going to have a soft space in my heart. I love talking to other agents. So Michael Bell is a nationally ranked residential real estate broker with Sotheby's International Realty, the #1 in the greater Pasadena office in Los Angeles County. Mike sells a lot of homes. He wrote a Wall Street Journal, and get this, folks, this is not an easy feat. He wrote a Wall Street Journal that is a #3 bestseller in 2021 called Seller Mistakes, which is available on Amazon. And he's cracking it every which way. Welcome to the show, Michael.
Thank you, Kim.
Awesome. We were chatting, folks, beforehand, and to be able to crack that #3 spot on the Wall Street Journal list is pretty phenomenal. I do not have the numbers exactly in front of me, but I know that there's a lot of books hitting the market. And to be able to do that, Michael, says that you are saying something that people really want to hear. So let's start with first who you are. Father, big brother, hockey fan. Who are you, Michael?
Well, I live in Pasadena. I've been selling for about 25 years. I've got 2 wonderful kids that are in high school. I like to think of myself as, a father and a husband first, and then everything else. Those are my priorities.
Absolutely.
But I wish I had time for hockey and all this other stuff. If anybody has kids, you all know you kind of have to push stuff to the side a little bit, and you just focus on what's important. So when the kids go to college, I'm looking forward to getting back into concerts and going to basketball games. And I went to Gonzaga, so go Zags. I'm looking forward to a great season this year.
Awesome. And this is what builds the human being that comes to the door and says, I want to be of service. I want to go into a little bit of what are like the top 3 things that you have done or systems that you have implemented within your business that have really contributed to your success?
That's a great question. It's funny because I get that question a lot from other agents in my office and other offices that I've been to. And it's a little bit of a disappointing answer because I think they're looking for some kind of golden ticket, something that's really just kind of amazing. And I've actually copied what other successful people have done in terms of scripts, what they focus on, how they focus on it. One of the best real estate books out there is the Gary Keller book, Millionaire Real Estate Agent. And if you're in real estate and you haven't read this book, I'm sorry, you're probably not a top agent. And if you are, and you haven't read that book, then you're probably doing the stuff that's in that book. But that is the best real estate book around. And that's to answer your question, what do? I really, success leaves clues and footprints. And if you just follow those footprints, you'll do very well. This business is, I like to say it's so simple that it's hard.
Yeah.
And if you just do the basics, you'll do very well. I do very basic stuff. It's some agents.
What's the most basic thing you do that agents go, seriously, you're doing that? What's the most basic thing you do?
One of the things I really enjoy is, look, you have to have breakfast, you have to have lunch. You may as well have it lunch and breakfast with somebody else. And you don't have to go to, I take attorneys out to lunch. I take CPAs out to lunch. But guess what? They don't want to go to a really expensive restaurant. They want In-N-Out. So something very quickly. Well, something really quick. Not necessarily In-N-Out burger. I don't know if you ever.
I know In-N-Out. I know In-N-Out.
That would work. No, but it's building relationships. It might sound boring and really, really, kind of like blah, but build relationships. People will do business with you if they like you.
Yeah. That goes to Bob Berg's book. So it's The Go-Giver is a red jacket also. So folks, and I absolutely agree. Gary Keller's book is the red Bible of real estate. It really is. It's really essential. And it's amazing how many new people go and get their license and they don't know what NAR is. They don't know about Gary Keller's book. They don't understand the no like trust principle. Especially as we have seen huge shifts over the last few years. And I know that California, like Canada, has been conservative in its approach to the shutdowns and things like that. And yet we in Canada were labeled an essential service. Were you labeled as an essential service in California? Were you able to continue working?
For 2 weeks in LA County, we were deemed non-essential, and we were told by our broker, if you get in the car and you're driving around and you get pulled over, you better tell them you're on your way to the supermarket, or you're on your way to a loved one, or you're on your way to the doctor. Otherwise, you can get a ticket. 2 weeks. Shut down.
Wow. So what were some of the things that you navigated? Because we shift pretty fast and hard. It's hard to do those breakfast and lunch dates virtually. And I know that here in Canada, we were shut down quite a bit. So what were some of the things that you implemented during these last few years, which I think tested a lot of us that do a lot of that ground level networking? What were some of the things you did that you'll still continue in your business?
Well, I was really fortunate because before the pandemic, I had this mindset to, there's a book out there called Never Eat Alone. I think it's Never Eat Lunch Alone. Never Eat Alone. And so I had those relationships. And when everything got shut down, I was still there. And I was the guy that was still sending out emails and sending out a fun little newsletter every month. And I had made those connections. And, it was really interesting during the pandemic. People were they were a little lonely. They liked phone calls. And I didn't realize that until by the way, I have a coach. Everybody in real estate should have a coach.
Yes.
I'm sorry, but the president of the United States has 3 speech coaches. Tiger Woods has 4 coaches.
Absolutely. And don't be afraid to grow through your coaches. And that it also goes with go through your coaches. I had an interview with Erica Wiebe, who is a wrestling gold medalist from the Rio Olympics. And she talked about coaching. And she said the coach that she started wrestling with in grade school is not the coach she went to the Olympics with. And she went to the coach with the Olympics because that coach was able to coach her on a specific skill set that she was still lacking or weak in, that actually ended up helping her win the gold medal. And this coach was smaller than her. In fact, there's video, folks, where she's running around the arena with the flag on her back, holding up that weird stuffed animal. And she had her coach on her shoulders. She could totally take her coach. Just because you can do, I totally agree. I get off on a tangent here. You have to coach up. The big breakthroughs don't come through without that little bit of that outside pushing you in, like going, come on, let's do this, Michael. Let's do one more call, do one more lunch, that when we're not feeling up to it, the coaches help us get there. So who is your coach out of curiosity?
Steve Scholl.
Okay. Excellent coach.
He's in Los Angeles. Well, when the lockdown came down, he was saying, pick up the phone and do what everybody else is not doing, and pick up the phone and just call your clients. See if you can be of service. See if you can help them out. See if they need medication to get picked up. See if you can pick up some groceries for them. We all were kind of sitting there on our thumbs for a few months there, wondering what the heck is going on. We all thought the real estate market was going to go off the cliff. We were all sitting there listening to webinars, and everybody was saying the same thing. We don't really know. But then, as everybody knows now, everything really picked up quite a bit. But picking up the phone is actually probably one of the easiest things you can do in real estate, but most realtors won't do it. They'll hide behind the computer. They'll send emails. They'll send letters. They'll send postcards. But if you pick up the phone, it's awesome. It's actually kind of amazing, because when I do call, and these are all warm calls, by the way. I don't do cold calling. I can't stand cold calling.
I can't either. I'm with you. This is why we resonate, I think.
I don't have it in me.
No.
But when you do a warm call, I'm telling you, people love to hear hey, what's going on? They always bring up real estate, so don't worry about having a topic to talk about. They're going to ask. They're going to ask how you're doing. You should always say, doing great, doing amazing. This is, blah, blah, blah. But, you should have a few little statistics in the back of your head to chit-chat about. And it's not that hard. You can pull stats from anywhere. But it was actually quite easy. So, everybody, like I said, we're all sitting around. So you just pick up the phone, and people were a little lonely. Like, they wanted to have the interaction because they weren't doing the face-to-face. I'm doing the face-to-face now. I'm doing more breakfast and lunch. And and like I said, it's nothing fancy. It's quick breakfast burritos at the local, breakfast place, and quick lunches at, Zanku or a hamburger place, something very, very simple. And it's easy to get those appointments if you let people know, hey, I know you're busy. I was wondering if we can grab a quick bite, tell them where you want to go, Google their address, make sure it's really close to them, and just let them know that you're really busy. And then you say that, I know you're really busy, and maybe you have 25 minutes. And you know what? It's hard for somebody to say no to you. And then you just chit chat. And sometimes, they're going to ask you a lot about real estate. They may just talk about themselves the whole time, and don't be insulted. People love to talk about themselves. They may not even ask anything to you about your life, and don't be insulted. But, this is a relationship-driven business. And I think that everybody's trying to change this business, with social media and all this other stuff and all these different companies. At the end of the day, it's very, very simple. It's a relationship business. They do business if they like you and they trust you. And according to the National Association of Realtors, 75% of the decision 75% of the time, their decision to work with you is because they like you and they trust you. It has nothing to do with the other stuff.
And NAR's stats around social media, less than 20% of the transactions that were closed, that lead came through social media. Just so people know, this is not my stat. This is statistics that NAR has accumulated. And if you're sitting there wondering what NAR is, it's National Association of Realtors, and it is a wealth of information. The different articles, even, like, there's so much stuff on there that you could populate your LinkedIn with if you wanted to do that, or you could put into a newsletter, or it becomes a topic when you're actually taking somebody for lunch. Community. Let's talk about community farming, because you've kind of alluded that you do community farming, that you have done some sort of activities within your community in order to drive those new contacts. Because I'm like you, I don't like cold calls. I like to create warm opportunities of engagement. So what do you do in order to create new engagements with people, potential clients?
Well, I really don't have the shotgun approach. I don't go wide, I go deep. So I've got a database of about 2,000 people, and I just stay in contact with them. And, there's a wealth of deals in there when you're doing a deal. Because I'll tell you one thing, when people sign a listing with you, their trust level will never be higher, probably. That's when you should ask them, hey, by the way, who do you know that could use my help? When you're in escrow, they're super excited. That's when you should be asking, oh, hey, by the way, who do you know that could use my help? You got to get used to asking for business. I have this saying, it's called secret agents make no money. If you're a secret agent, you're going to make no money. You got to let people know you're a real estate agent. If you feel it's cheesy, then maybe get out of the business. It's not. You're doing a service to people.
Exactly. I mean, people have to live somewhere.
Yeah, and when a buyer removes their contingencies, that's an exciting time. Ask again. And you can jokingly say, hey, I know you're tired of hearing it from me, but do you know anybody that can use my help? You can say anybody around the country, internationally, anything, do you know of anybody who's going to refinance their house? You just want to get some connections. You want to be of service. You want to be of help. And then when it closes, of course, you should ask the same thing. But there's a lot of missed opportunities that realtors, I see this all the time, and they just don't ask. You've got to ask. And you don't ask, like, who do you know anybody? You say, who do you know? Don't ask yes or no questions. Who do you know that could use my help?
Well, and I love how Brian Buffini, he always says, close everything off with, oh, and by the way, I'm never too busy for your referrals. And I love that because it totally opens up the door, right?
Yeah.
So you're opening up that conversation.
And you have to say something that you're comfortable with. For me, I'm not super comfortable saying something like that, so I say it anyway. So you just have to figure out what you're comfortable with, and if you're comfortable with it, it's going to sound like you're comfortable with it, and it's going to resonate better, and you're going to get a better response.
Well, and create your own script. So scripts are good. So when I do, just so you know, when I do these shows, it's a who, what, definition of community. We talk books, we go into socials, and we close on a quote. It is really that straightforward. But you have to know what the flow is for you and where you're going. So creating those scripts, having your home selling script. I know when I went in for a CMA, I would take control of the conversation right from the very beginning because they've obviously called me for my expertise. They want to know what their home's worth. They're thinking of selling their house. So instead of allowing them, because where do people go every time when they get a real estate agent in? They want to know what their home's worth. You cannot create a number until you know what you're selling. So you have to take control of that conversation. So creating those scripts around what you're comfortable in is critical.
I'd like to throw something out there about the scripts, if you don't mind. And it was
absolutely.
It was a really big moment in my career. And I explain this to a lot of folks because people think that scripts are just like canned responses. They think a lot of agents will tell me they feel like it's very insincere, it's canned, it's not natural, and everybody has a reason to not do certain things. My brother is kind of a renowned chiropractor. He's in Portland. And what I found amazing was about 15 years ago, I was chit-chatting with him, and I asked him what he likes to go to seminars. So I asked him, what did he do at this last seminar? I was kind of joking with him because he loves to go to different seminars. And he said he went to a seminar on scripts. Chiropractors have seminars on scripts. And what he said to me was amazing. He said, I see maybe 30 to 50 people every day. I can't say 30 to 50 different things all the time. But there's certain things I need to say, and I need to say them the right way. And so he went to script school, and he's fantastic at marketing himself. I call him a healer. I don't know what you think about chiropractors, but this guy is a healer. He's amazing. He's got this amazing touch, and but the scripts are so important for a chiropractor. And we have realtors out there saying, oh, scripts are horrible. They're canned. I'll never do that. Well, you need to know what to say, and you need to know how to say it the right way.
Scripts have a formula to them. If you are not a professional copywriter, you need to take a script. I myself am in a course right now with a gal who has written award-winning documentaries, and it's all about the script. So first thing is, what's your mission? A mission statement is your audience statement, your goals, everything brought in, and it has a formula. Your sales, whether or not you know it, your sales programs have the hook, the story, and the close. Everything has a movement through it. Scripts, you do not have to do scripts verbatim. You have to have the embodiment of what that script is working to do, and then that script. Copywriters are genius. I don't know how they do this. You ask me to do something original, it takes like 40 iterations in order just to get to something that was pretty not far off from the original script I was trying to, improvise. Because most of us aren't copywriters. We do what we do well.
Yeah.
And then we follow the lead. Because like you said earlier, success does leave clues.
I have an interesting story about scripts, and I hope you're okay with we're still talking
absolutely.
about it. So I used to be at Keller Williams. I was one of the top agents at Keller Williams, and they have a big seminar every year in Austin, Texas. And Gary Keller's up there and dressed in black, and he gives speeches and talks, and it's a training thing for about a day and a half, and they bring top producers up there and stuff like that. And there'd be like 15,000 people that would go to these things. I like to sit in the front row. I like to get there early. I don't like distractions because I have a little bit of ADD. And I would sit in the front. So I went to this one that he was putting on, and I sat in the front row, and I was about maybe 20 minutes early, and there was a little crowd around. I used to jokingly call him the Oracle, but there was a little crowd around him, and he was. If you know about Gary Keller, he's a little. He can be a little attitudinal. I mean, he gets a little frustrated with people, and
he's like a Steve Jobs. He's like the Steve Jobs of real estate kind of thing, right?
Yeah. And so we had this, there's a little group around him, and I'm sitting in the back, and I'm just listening. I'm just a casual observer going, this is great. And it looked like he wasn't in a very good mood. And he says to these like 4 agents, he said, you know what? Nobody's ever asked me how to make $1 million in your first year. They don't ask me. And I'm not going to tell you unless you ask me, but I'll tell you right now to these 4 people. And he said, if you were a brand new agent, this is what I would tell you to do. Study your scripts for 2 weeks. Do script practice, have a coach, have a role player. Just understand what you should be saying to people and how to say it. Do it for 2 weeks as if you're in school. And then I'm going to give you a phone book, and you're just going to call people. You'll make $1 million. He goes, guess what? No one will do it. And he's absolutely right. I didn't do it either.
It's amazing the things we learn. I was blessed because I've always been in this marketing mindset, and I knew that I was a brand. It is very interesting how many real estate agents don't define themselves as a brand outside of the brokerage, right? The brokerage has its own brand. But if you're only going to float off the brokerage brand, then people can go to anybody in that brokerage. What is your unique value proposition? What separates you as a industry expert and authority from the other people that are all touting the same brokerage? And I think that's something that a lot of new agents miss is how, and one of the things, just so everybody knows, Michael has his own website with his own link. And these are really important little things that aren't taught in school on how to build your own brand and be very specific, because specificity sells. And if you're wanting to be able to get to people and serve them and make the money you do deserve, nobody in this business honestly should be making less than $140,000 a year, $150,000 a year. If a girl from a trailer park in Kansas can make on a low year $250,000 in Calgary, Alberta, then there is no reason that everybody isn't making 140, 150. And it's literally just, I think a lot of people don't know what to do. I that's what I think. They don't know what to do. So things that you've mentioned, buy lunch for an industry potential collaborator or a top client who has sent you 2 or 3 leads. Pick up the phone, get the scripts that suit you, and ask for those referrals. Did I miss the? See, you didn't realize you gave us. I asked you for 3. You actually gave me 4 key things. Anybody who listens to this podcast could implement next week, today, or in the next hour.
Well, I agree. Let's talk about some super basic things. Look, before the pandemic, everybody was coming into the office. You got to treat this as a business. You got to get in the office by 8 o'clock. Okay. Most agents would come in at 10, 10:30. They're chit-chatting about where they're going to go to lunch, and they're going to go to lunch with themselves. Don't go to lunch with realtors. I'm sorry. Or if you're going to go to a lunch with realtors, go with a top producing agent, but don't waste that time. And I think you may have heard, I don't do dinners. I could do dinners. I'd like to be at home with my family.
Yep.
But one of to go back to one of the questions you had is what makes me different. I shifted about 10 years ago to a seller only model. So I'm a seller specialist. And not only that is I don't represent buyers on my own transactions. And I explain to people what a fiduciary is and what agency is and the pitfalls of dual agency. And I know a lot of agents love dual agency. It's an opportunity to make a lot of money. And in certain cases, I'll admit, it's fine. But generally, it's not. And at least in the United States, there's 5 states that don't allow dual agency. It's actually written in the code. It's against the law to do it.
We're like that in Canada. The province of British Columbia, I believe, you have to actually show your designation on your card and your website, and you cannot do dual agency. In crazy markets, so we had a market here in Calgary in 2007 that was like what everybody is kind of still reeling from in the United States. And at that time, 70% of our business has been sellers my entire career because I've had young children in this business and I wanted to be in control of my business. And I didn't realize I was setting myself up that way, but that's what I set myself up as a listing specialist and listing or seller, however you want to phrase that. But we actually, we told clients when we listed their property that we would not be actively bringing a buyer for the first 48 hours because we want to ensure that the market set the price. And we had tons and tons of agents that ended up in lawsuits in 08 and 09. And I mean, we did 1.3 million in commissions in 07 and not a single lawsuit because we did everything very fairly. We could have made $2 million. I do believe that we probably left 700 grand on the table because we had control of the listings. Who wins every offer? The listing agent, the seller agent, right? That's who wins every offer. The sun is coming up in Calgary. Did you see that?
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So yeah, I totally agree with you. Getting on this right side. So they say, have you heard this saying, Michael? If you don't have any listings in your business is listless.
Yeah, that sounds right. Yeah.
Bad joke. That was a dad joke, actually. So you made a conscious shift 10 years ago. How did you do that? How did you start getting just the sellers?
Well, what happened with me was I sold my best friends. Actually, I write about this in the book. There's a chapter in seller mistakes. There's a chapter about one of the mistakes is allowing dual agency. And I was selling my best friend's house, and we couldn't sell it. It took about 3 months, and this buyer called me from Florida, said they didn't know anybody out here at all. They wanted to fly out, see the house, and probably buy it. So I asked my friend if it was okay if I represented a buyer, and he said, yeah. At that point, he didn't care. So they flew out. They literally got a rental car, drove over to the property, saw it, bought it. What hurt my feelings, and was one of the reasons why I don't do dual agency anymore, is that he kind of made a comment as if like I made a lot of extra money off of him, and I just didn't like that feeling. What I also found though really was, over time, the times that I did do dual agency, I never got referrals from those people. So, and then I started reading more about agency and fiduciary, and I'm working with a lot of attorneys. I do a lot of probates and trust sales, and realized that this is not a good part of my business. And I think I could just flip it and just explain to people why I don't do it, how important it is that they have an advocate from beginning to end, and how they'll probably make more money because they'll probably get more buyers and a better bidding war if their agent only represents the seller, if they only represent one side and not a buyer. And I explain this in the book, and it's also one of the things you have to kind of watch out for when you're interviewing agents is if an agent that you're interviewing says they already have buyers.
That's right? A bait and switch, folks. And somebody's out if a real estate agent is out showing and then they pull up for no reason and they run up to your door and they say, "Oh, we're in the area looking and we'd like to look at your house," you say, "Call my agent, folks. Call my agent." I have never, out of all of the transactions we've done, I have never had a last minute showing result in an offer. I've never had one of those door knock. "Oh, we're in the neighborhood looking. Can we look at
Yeah.
your house?" No, book
Yeah,
appointment.
I'm going on an airplane in 2 hours. I only have 2 hours to buy a house.
Yeah,
You know,
I've never had that result in an offer that went through.
yeah,
It just, don't set yourself up for, don't be desperate enough to buy other people's stories.
that's right.
So,
Right.
let's real quick. I do want to ask your definition of community. When I say the word community, what do you think of? What is your definition of community?
What's my definition? Boy, you gave me a toughie. I wasn't prepared for this. Um, what comes to mind is it takes a village. I mean, it's just, I'm in a historic district called Bungalow Heaven, and we have an amazing community here. I'm actually a block captain for the area, and I pass out flyers. And we have we just had a Halloween costume competition. We have a Christmas party. We have movie night. We have a little park in the middle of our community, and I don't work it like a typical realtor does. I'm just there. I'm part of the community. I'm not trying to be the real estate agent trying to get leads, although it just happens organically.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just my style. I just don't like to be that cheesy realtor that is always passing out his card and being, and having commission breath. There's a chapter in my book about being careful with the people that have commission breath. And those are the folks that they're not of service. They're just trying to get the deal. If you just focus on the relationship, if you just focus on being of service and being of helpful, you'll get so much business. You don't have to worry about it. If you don't have any listings, be of service. You'll get listings.
How many in Bungalow Heaven? Tell me, Bungalow Heaven, right?
It's called Bungalow Heaven. It's the first historic district. It's a landmark district in Pasadena. It's the highest concentration of bungalows in Pasadena. Most of the homes were built probably, I would say that probably the average is probably 1915. The average size house is probably 1,500 to 2,000 square feet. They're on nice lots. They're beautiful homes. There were 3 homes that a developer bought, tore them down back in the 80s, and he built this monstrosity of a triplex. And everybody kind of thought to themselves, this can't happen anymore. What can we do? So they found out that they could designate an entire neighborhood as historic. So the facades are all protected. And it really created a sense of community. Everybody knows each other really well. It's a really great walking community. The values in our community versus just outside, which they all look the same for the most part, but the values in Bungalow Heaven are actually a little bit higher, and people want to come for the community when they
Absolutely. And community is built on volunteers. So that happened. Out of curiosity, do you know offhand how many doors are in Bungalow Heaven in your community?
Sure. I better know that. It's 1,100.
1,100. Okay, folks. So I'm going to actually throw something out here as a listing specialist. The average move time in the United States now is every 8 years. So when you take, a 1,000, let's take a even number, 1,000 doors that you are stepping forward to help represent. There we go. That's my husband behind the scenes. I'm like, help, I can't see. That's 80 homes. And if you could get 10% of those 80 homes, I mean, that's a huge percentage to actually be the prominent authority in a community. That's 8 deals a year. You literally are 2/3 of the way to the statistical average of 12. Now, if you are already doing that and you're doing all the other things, I promise you can, just by stepping into the leadership space, which is what you did, Michael, is stepping into that space saying, I am present. I am here to serve.
Yeah.
Yes. I love that. Oh my God. Like, you and I could talk forever because this is exactly what I did. And it it served everything in my life. I mean, my children have beautiful smiles due to the dentist, our local,
Mine
and that came from being a listing specialist. And I've worked with, I mean, there's some houses. What's the number of times you've sold what's the highest number of times that you sold a single house in your designated market?
You mean the same house?
Same house.
Oh, there's been a number of them. I think 5. One is 5, and then I have 2 or 3 that are at 4.
Yeah. You beat me. Mine's 4. And then what's really funny is when you can start dropping the pins. Have you done the pin thing yet?
Yeah, I did it
to show
on my main website. If you look, yeah,
show all the houses you sold. And some blocks you
It's
literally
fun.
have all but like 3, right?
Yeah,
So it's
yeah.
pretty cool.
Yeah.
So let's go into your book real quick. Hold
Sure.
the book back up. And how many of these you've sold now? 38,000, correct? Right?
About 38,000.
That's awesome. What are the
Thank you.
top couple things?
What
I
you're
love
never told about selling your home and why it should matter to you. So I'll tell you what, the interesting journey about this, which explains the book, I didn't really like what brokerages were telling us to do. It just seemed like most of the stuff that the general public thought needed to be done, it really didn't serve the seller. And I was really more about doing what's right and doing, what's best for the seller. So I dove into the National Association of Realtors yearly report. And anybody from the public can get it for $20. I think it's for a realtor. I think you could probably get it for a few bucks. And they put it out every year. And what they do is they interview 160,000 recent sellers and buyers, and they ask them about 140 questions. How'd you find your realtor? What was important? How'd you find your financing? How did you do your search? There's a whole bunch of questions, and it's data rich. And I started reading through this and realizing, wow, like for example, everybody thinks that an open house is really important to sell your house, and you have to do an open house. But if you actually look at the statistics, you have probably about a 2 to 3% chance of selling your house because of an open house. And get this, remember when we had the lockdown during the pandemic? Open houses were against the law for a whole year. We couldn't do open houses. Yep. Nobody did. The National Association of Realtors said no open houses. And there were a few realtors here and there that did open houses, and they wound up being like super spreader events, and they got sued and stuff like that. But get this. So for that at least a year that we didn't have any open houses, what did real estate values do? They went higher than ever before. So how important are open houses? They really aren't. And really, an open house is really an opportunity for the agent to market themselves in your front room. And guess who comes to open houses? Leads, buyers, sellers, people that are thinking about selling. Realtors know this. And I always just kind of thought, why are we telling people this? We shouldn't be telling them.
If the market is softer, and if the agent is representing all of their listings, right, and they're actually treating it as a storefront, like you said, and they're actually doing it. Open houses, by just shoving your sign on the front lawn and going in, is not going to do anything for you or your client. That's open right. Houses are a business thing, and when the market is softer, what goes up must come down. And if you're with a listing or seller specialist that specializes in your neighborhood, it's proven when people shop a neighborhood, they do shop multiple houses. So if you're sitting here going, by the way, I also have 3 other listings, if this one doesn't suit you, and that works for all of your listings. And that's really the only point of doing an open house, is if you actually have a large percentage of a market. Otherwise, home builders wouldn't build a house, right? They wouldn't have a show home. So they would have a show home. But how most agents do an open house, there's no point. There's literally no point. You are not doing anybody any service. But open houses in general, they are not going to sell the house you're sitting in. You're absolutely correct on that. Open houses, like show homes, you have to have accountability. You have to have a plan of action. You have to. It's a business in itself.
Mhm.
If it's going to be a business strategy, treat it like that. Don't tell I totally agree. Open houses do not sell houses. They can sell houses, but probably not the one you're sitting in.
You want to hear something crazy? You talked about putting a real estate sign in front of your house. If you look at the statistics from the National Association of Realtors, they say you have maybe a 1% chance of selling your house because of the real estate sign. What they don't tell you too much about is all the dangers of having a real estate sign. It can scream that your house is vacant. People walk into your backyard. A real estate sign is great for, when you're driving down the street and instead of looking at the addresses, you look for the real estate sign so you know where to park. But half of my clients decide not to have the sign out there. A sign can't go viral. There's other important things that you can do to sell your house. So I explain the statistics to my sellers, and I would say half the time, maybe most of the time, almost most of the time, they say, you know what, I just don't want the sign up there. It just sounds like too much of a hassle.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. And how does the broker feel about that?
Oh, so realtors.
Because you're a broker, right?
I have a broker's license, but I'm not the broker of my brokerage.
Okay.
I don't think my manager likes it too much. I get it. It is what it is. But you know what? Those are the statistics. And if you look at the stats, my whole book is based on statistics. So all of these mistakes are backed up by statistics. They're all referenced, and also a lot of common sense and a lot of just stories. So I know I have a few bad reviews on Amazon, and they're from real estate agents, and they basically say, I bash them too hard. Well, that's their prerogative, and they want to put a 3-star review on there. That's fine. I don't have that many. Almost all the reviews are 5 stars.
Awesome. Well, the public needs to hear this. There needs to be a balance out there because, we've got some of these people talking about, we got Selling Sunset, telling people how you can drive down the road and sell a $1 million property on your phone on the way to lunch with martinis. And that's not real estate.
With holes in your t-shirt. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, that's not real estate. Real estate's a lot of hard work. It's a very rewarding business, and you get the opportunity to be a witness in other people's lives in very, very important moments of their lives. And that I think is what separates, you innately are volunteering and being a leader within your community because you want to be more than just, right? So, let's go into, first of all, your socials. Where can people find you and follow you? Because I think that there's probably a lot of home sellers that want to know more about your book also.
They can just go to michaelbbell.com. There's 2 B's in there. michaelbbell.com is the easiest. I've got links for the book. You can go on Amazon and type in seller mistakes or my name, and you'll find the book. It's pretty easy. I'd be happy to send anybody a free audiobook too. If you did
an audiobook. Good.
An audiobook. Yeah.
Amazing.
It took 20 hours to do 3 hours of audiobook.
Oh, I know.
Full-time realtor, last-time author. It's fun, but it's a lot of work.
Well, it sounds like you're extraordinary when it comes to servicing your community and being that whole term we've heard, servant leadership. And there is something absolutely in that that really gives reward. It's such an amazing feeling to know that you make a difference.
Thank you.
And these are things. So again, connect, do a lunch that's close to the person that you want to have a little bit of FaceTime and let them talk. That's okay.
Yeah.
Find a script that resonates and build your script upon that.
Yep.
Because you need guidance. Even the top chiropractic people need guidance. We're not copywriters. We are servant leaders. We are community leaders. We are real estate agents. Pick up the phone. I love that. Pick up the phone. Call somebody. See what they need. Ask for a referral. One of the 3 times we should be asking for a referral, Michael?
When they sign the listing, when the contingencies are removed, even when the buyer's loan has funded, and then when it is closed. At least 4 times.
Awesome. How can I be of service? I'm never too busy. I've really enjoyed working with you. I'd love to work for your friends and family. Do you know anybody? There are so many ways you can put this. Find something that's comfortable for you. And the thing that Michael did not directly say, but the thing that jumps out to me the most is volunteer. Less than 27% of North American adults reportedly volunteer for an association or on some level.
Oh,
Which
wow.
means, yes, which means that if you step forward and volunteer into that role of leadership and support and how can I be of service? You're ahead of 73% of the other licensed real estate agents. So I love that you said that. That's the biggest thing that I got out of this is stepping into the leadership within your community, knowing the block watch, supporting the trick-or-treating, the Christmas light displays, being part of the community that serves your family and takes care of you. What's a quote that you like to live by?
One of my old coaches gave me this quote, and it's in my book, and it goes like this: "Good is the enemy of great." If you settle for good, you're always going to get good stuff. But if you work a little harder at it, you can get great, and that'll get great results. But good is the enemy of great. It took me a few years to really kind of digest that and really fully understand it, because it's for me, it was easier to understand it when I applied it to the mistakes and the other things that I had in my life. And for a while there, I had a good income. I had my own brokerage. It was good. But I realized looking back, I could have made it great. And it doesn't take that much to make something great with anything in your life, but especially in real estate sales, if you want to have great results, it really is not that much more work. But if you focus on it, you'll get there.
They say that good is literally a 15-degree shift to be great.
I would agree with that. It's just not that. I always try to do a little extra on all of my deals. A little extra help, a little extra inquiry, a little extra time to run just a little bit, and it makes all the difference. And I can't help but keep that in my head. Good is the enemy of great. I say it to my kids, and they just roll their eyes. They're teenagers, but one day they'll be like, "Dad was right."
Absolutely. Use this one on your kids if they're ever giving you grief. Show me your friends and I'll show you your future. I had somebody say that to me the other day, and that was like, oh, that's good. That's good. Awesome. All right, folks. That's it for today. That is Michael Bell. Go get his book, Seller Mistakes. It's actually written in the statistical space for home sellers and understanding. And what a great thing that you could even, I don't know, get a bunch of those audiobooks, ebooks, buy a couple copies. I don't know. Maybe you can share this with people that you're wanting to gain listings with in your market. So again, we've given you lots of great helpful tips that you can actually go and implement today to start making some more money in real estate. And wherever you are, whatever you're doing, I hope you have an amazing day. Do something for somebody else and it will come back to you. I'm Kim Hayden. This is 500 Doors Real Estate Podcast. Join me over at my Facebook group, Real Estate Success with 500 Doors.